And one of the ones I always wanted to do was the IS300. Always felt it was a little anemic in terms of performance, handling, appearance, and so on. So, you know, suggested a few ideas to help improve all those attributes of the car. You know, given our background, we wanted to build a car that was a complete package, a car that had a transmission that was strong enough, the whole drivetrain was strong enough, the suspension was improved, the brakes were improved, the wheels and tires were improved, so that you don't just have power, but you have a vehicle that is well balanced and handles well.
Okay, we're going to start with the throttle position sensor and the pedal position sensor.
No problem.
We're looking at VPA1 right now. I've got 0.47 volts. So we need cam timing signals so we can replicate the information needed to get the tach to work once we get the new engine in.
This new project will be a special kind of hot rod, one based more on engineering than flash. Step one for this project. Before they can disassemble the car, they have to measure and test the vehicle in its current configuration.
Okay, let's go ahead and fire the engine and see what we got.
They hook this inline 6 to an oscilloscope, a tool that can actually see the electricity. The oscilloscope is a machine that would be more at home in a research and development lab, not a car shop. Unless maybe you were working on a Formula One racer. Specifically, these men are checking the cam timing, tach output, speed sensors, and anything that will help them characterize the car's electrical operation.
Okay, would you make a note that the second group of files saved was 5 milliseconds per division?
With all of the important information gathered, it's now time for these engineers to pull out the straight 6.
A little bit more. Stop.
We got some really smart guys. They're passionate about what they do, which to me just adds a little bit more. You know, they thoroughly enjoy it. You know, you can go down there late in the evening and parking lot's still half full. Guys haven't gone home.
All right, I think it's time to get some tools out and remove this engine.
Alrighty, start with the hood.
That would be a good place to start, the hood and the battery next.
There's a lot to do, but don't worry. This little IS300 is in good hands. These guys are used to tackling big challenges. This type of high-tech off-road suspension won't be needed for the on-road Lexus. But what it does need is an engine. So Rod and the boys are gonna borrow one from the IS300's big brother, the GS430. Now that they've pulled the steel inline 6 out of the smaller Lexus, they'll be replacing it with an aluminum V8. And like the 300 was tested, this 430 will go through its own set of tests on this rolling road dyno. Horsepower, torque, all these real-world stats are gathered because as they go through this transformation, they'll also be upgrading the performance of the 430's V8. And once those improvements are installed, comparisons will be made. This machine will be measuring torque at the rear wheels, so the team can back-calculate the horsepower. In order to do all these tests, they're going to jack that 430 up to 100 miles per hour. That's a lot of RPMs for a car that's indoors and not traveling an inch. And now, with the key stats gathered, the big question remains: will it fit? With a perfect new engine on deck, Rod meets with custom car builder Chip Foose to give this creation a bold new look.
What we're trying to do here, we're trying to build a Lexus IS300, a machine that's got better performance, better handling. It's a IS300 on steroids.
Oh, great.
The goal is here is to take the drivetrain out of the GS430, the V8 engine, transplant that into the IS, put a manual transmission, wider tires, bigger brakes, bigger wheels, lower down a little bit. This is a car that it's an everyday driver. It's something you can drive and really enjoy it. It's going to be fun to drive.
Master builder, fabricator, and designer Chip Foose is one of a few artists who can somehow mix the subtle with the radical. If anyone can meld Millen's race world with the sleek style of Lexus, it's Foose.
What is the end product that you're looking to have with this car, as far as visually?
I'm going to leave that up to you. There's one side of it. I'd like to see a few different concepts. I'd perhaps like to see a very stealthy, understated car, and then something that's pretty wild.
Okay. We can push both ends of that spectrum.
We're going to increase the horsepower a little bit, so it'll be somewhere at about 350 horsepower, and we'll use the 6-speed transmission out of the Toyota Supra, so of course manual transmission.
I'll create 6 or 7 different loose sketches.
Yeah.
Come down, show those to you, and generate a final design from that.
Play with some paint schemes and all that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see what you can come up with.
Yeah, even a really cool two-tone, something that looks like it could have been done at the factory.
We're already headed in the right direction.
Wonderful.
That's great.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
thanks.
me too. Thanks, Chip.
The main transplant begins.
All right, Chris, why don't you take that jack out of the back from underneath the transmission, and we'll see if we can get this thing out of here.
It's time for that IS300 model to meet up with the V8 from that Lexus GS430. They've now come to their first major hurdle, swapping out the transmission, a job that's not as easy as it sounds. Not only are they turning an automatic into a manual, they're utilizing the transmission from a totally different car, the Toyota Supra.
Okay, let's get that 6-speed manual transmission in here, see if we can get it hooked up.
We're going to cut off the front so we can mount a new adapter plate, which is the different hole pattern, and also so we can put a manual transmission in it with the clutch and the flywheel. We'll start out with this one, cut it off. In the end, we'll weld this adapter plate on, which will be CNC machined afterwards, and it will be able to adapt to the GS manual transmission 8-cylinder motor.
Like almost every decision on this project, it's also about getting all of the computers to talk to each other.
The ECU on this car is going to be looking for that automatic transmission, which isn't going to be there anymore. And it's going to be up to us to figure out what signals we need to replicate and make everything talk to each other. It's definitely not a hot rod. This thing has a lot more wires going on, a lot more things involved. It's going to be difficult, I think.
This is the main technical challenge with this project.